Well, he won the election, and he's almost sworn in as president, but the fight to stop Donald Trump's agenda rages on. President Obama this week on Capitol Hill rallying Democrats to protect Obamacare from Trump's election promise to repeal it. Some here saying the unprecedented visit and other last-minute roadblocks could delay reforms and our economic rebound. But are they right? Hi, everybody. I'm David Aslan. Welcome to Forbes on Fox. Let's go and focus to find out with Steve Forbes, Rich Karlgaard, Mike Ozanian, Elizabeth McDonald, John Tamny, and Bruce Japsen. So, Steve, it really looks like President Obama is trying to undermine the change Americans voted for, no?
That's absolutely right. What he's doing is unprecedented. Going back to John Adams 200 years ago, he did a lot of midnight appointments on judges, but we've never seen a president do what Obama's trying to do. And that's where Trump must not fall into the trap of letting Obama define what he must do after January 20th. On regulations, it can be repealed by executive order, do it. But other regulations, the congressional approve it, let it wait. Move ahead on taxes, move ahead on reforming health care, do the deregulation by executive order, but don't let Obama set your timetable.
Well, Bruce, we have a brain room here at Fox News. They're pretty good, and they've gone back and they find that there are no examples of departing modern presidents who've actually advised their party, gone to Capitol Hill, advised their party on legislative moves in the last 2 weeks of his presidency.
Well, I don't know if the brain room realizes this, but we might, President Obama might be the last adult that we have in the White House for a few years. But let's put it this way. I want my president, I want the taxpayers to get their money's worth out of their president. And I think with the Affordable Care Act as one example, I mean, this is something that the Republicans want to toss out. They don't have a plan for a replacement. And I think he's shining a little light on all of this that's been accomplished, and if they're going to throw it out.
By the way, I just had Rand Paul on Fox Business. He had a very specific plan to replace Obamacare, but we'll get into that later. Rich, you're on the left coast, and there are a bunch of Hollywood celebrities put together a video this week, which kind of sums up the roadblock mentality. Let's play the video. Anything, obstruct. I mean, it looks like President Obama's listening to these folks.
Yeah, you know what the Hollywood swells and President Obama have in common is that they're all on record as wanting higher fossil fuel prices. And so it's kind of an irony that the first, the protest from the West Coast results in banning offshore drilling in the Atlantic Ocean. But, I think the environmental groups want their say, and that's what worries me most.
Yeah, well, and EMAC, there are costs to this, as Rich was indicating. The midnight regulations, just the regulations done after the election, supposedly cost $44 billion to Americans.
I don't know how adult that is to do things like that when you're snorkeling and playing golf in Hawaii and fulfilling your first tourist bucket list, wish list, which is what he's been doing. Nearly $100 million spent on President Obama winging around the world. That's not adult to do that. And here's what's going on. I mean, right now we have 9 out of 10 jobs created since 2005 or so are part-time or contract jobs. That's according to Harvard or Princeton. Those rules, and by the way, if rules were the way to go, we would already be in the promised land, as somebody
That's right.
said. That's taken out of the U.S. economy. It's taken out of the people who could create jobs, and boy, is it really hurting economic growth.
Mike, there's also foreign policy, and of course there was that UN vote, which the United States may actually have been a part of putting together. At the very least, they didn't stop it from happening. Really tore down Israel in the eyes of the United Nations. Anyway, Paul Ryan, House Speaker Paul Ryan, was very upset this week about it. Let's take a listen to him.
I am stunned. I am stunned at what happened last month. This government, our government, abandoned our ally Israel when she needed us the most.
Mike, that is a big foreign policy roadblock.
Well, President Obama, in my view, David, has been acting recently as like a contemptuous child. He's still upset with the Prime Minister of Israel for when he came and spoke.
We've got a child theme going on in this show. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
When he came and spoke before Congress, against giving Iran a pathway to nuclear bombs. President Obama, for instance, the first time in modern history where the U.S. has no ships deployed, none of our navies deployed, almost saying, okay, go ahead, world, attack us, which is crazy given that everything that's happening in the world. But he's not going to be able to stop Donald Trump from overturning Obama's legacy. It's not going to happen. Donald Trump is too smart, too strong. If he was good enough to do it, they would have stopped Trump from becoming president.
But, John, some people say the markets already have maybe not stopped, but gotten stalled as a result of these roadblocks. Over the past 3 weeks, that Trump rally that we saw right after the election, and then it kept going up, really got stalled in the last 3 weeks. It's just been flatlining just short of 20,000 on the Dow.
Well, I'm not ready to tie the two together. I think part of this is that the incoming Trump administration's gone a little wobbly on tax cuts and some of the good things that they actually campaigned on. But looking at President Obama more broadly, Republicans should play smart politics here. If he wants to embarrass himself by playing politics on the way out, if he wants to make the Democratic Party wear the disaster that was the Affordable Care Act, let him do this. He's handing them a great opportunity.
Well, Steve, what about the Obamacare in particular? Is there anything, is there a poison pill or the opposite of a poison pill where they can keep it in despite the best efforts of Trump and a Republican Congress to get rid of it?
No, Congress passed the law, and Congress can repeal or amend the law. That's basic. There's nothing permanent. Maybe Mount Rushmore, but that's about it. And in terms of legislation, even if they don't formally repeal Obamacare, you can certainly get rid of the employer mandate, the individual mandate, the taxes with it, and some of the other odious parts of it. And there are a lot of ideas floating around about how you can replace it and help people who need the real help.
Okay, so Bruce, what's the point?
In the case of the Russian cyber attack, I think he's doing Donald a favor in the sense that he's leveling sanctions against Russia. So Trump, these are his buddies, so he doesn't have to do it once he gets in office.
But Rich, my point is that President Obama is not going to get anywhere ultimately by all these roadblocks. He may be harming the economy, he may be stopping the stock market from the Trump rally, but bottom line, he's not going to stop the actions that Trump wants to take. So why is he doing this?
Well, because he's a narcissist and he's doing it for his legacy. But John Tamney's right. This is only going to hurt Democrats in a very vulnerable 2018 Senate election. The Democrats, of the 33 seats that will be contested, the Democrats are defending 25 of them, 9 of them in red states. So the Republicans have a chance to get a veto-proof Senate in 2018.
Well, I think there may be something else, E-Mac, and you look at where you look at real estate. Most presidents move out of Washington. This president just bought a big house in Washington. I think he wants to stay in D.C. and actually affect changes going forward.
He's going out in a blaze of self-glory is what's going on here. I don't think we've seen a president do that, just stick around. And what that does is suppress the new Democrat leadership that could come forward and in a bipartisan way try to make a positive change. That hasn't happened in years.
All right. By the way, Mike, the Obamas say it's just because they want their daughters to finish school there. But I think there's something more going on, don't you?
Well, he can't stand the fact he made this election a referendum on his presidency. President Obama said that. And he got taken to the cleaners, got totally whacked. And look, he's a child, David. He thinks like a child. And he's throwing this little temper tantrum, but it's not going to work.
All right, guys, we got to leave it at that. Again, a lot of temper tantrum talk today. Major tax cuts could get delayed until late summer. Why some here say that's way too late to get our economy booming again. We debate it coming next. You heard a lot about it during the campaign, an across-the-board tax cut plan to jumpstart the biggest economy in the world on all levels. But now, word that the Trump tax plan could be delayed until at least August. And, Rich, you say these tax cuts should be job number one even before repealing Obamacare. Why?
Absolutely job number one, because the best thing that Trump can do in the next 2 years is to unleash entrepreneurs and investment in the United States and get economic growth well up over 3%. We've not had 3% year in Obama's years. We've had this lackluster 2% growth, $3 trillion of economic activity, never happened because of Obama. Growth will give Trump political capital, and its growth will create a sweep in the Senate in 2018.
So, Bruce, that's why tax cuts have to be job number one, to which you say?
Well, I think that the tax cuts he's talking about are going to increase the deficit and the debt, and he has a problem in his own party with that, because Rand Paul this week just said that he would not vote for a budget that included an Obamacare repeal if it raised the debt.
But you know what happened in history? I hate to bring up facts like this, John, because they so contradict our friend Bruce, but we had an increase in tax receipts after the Reagan tax cuts, a 34% increase in tax receipts. That goes against the debt. So when you have tax cuts, you can have even more income for the government if that's your interest.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's a good thing, but the 1920s, 1960s, 1980s tax cuts reveal that when you reduce the cost of work, you actually get more revenues. Whether or not that brings down the debt is a function of what Congress does. But this is essential. Donald Trump ran on some really bad economic ideas. He ran on some very good ones. The tax cuts were the very good ones. If he doesn't spend his political capital on this, big mistake. Right. There's your slowdown in the stock market.
And, Mike, the folks out there, what they need right now is more income. Median income has been going down, and one way to get it would be having to pay less taxes. Look at this. Median income was $58,827. It's now $58,221. It's gone down.
We haven't gotten to pre-recession levels, which is really sad. And it's to Rich Colgard's point, why Obama's policies have failed. Take-home pay hasn't rebounded to where it should be. But I would prefer Donald Trump to get the tax cut right than to get it done faster. And by right, I mean big, bold, and incentive-based. I want marginal rates cut down a lot, and I want on personal income, and I want the corporate rate cut to at least 15%. The corporate taxes should be zero anyway, David. They're nothing but a pass-through tax.
But, Emac, here's what happened when Ronald Reagan delayed the tax cuts. He delayed them until 1983. Look at that. 82, of course, we're in a recession, negative 1.9% growth. But in 83, the year the tax cuts kicked in, we had 4.6% growth. In 84, 7.3%. And from then on, it was no less than 3.5%. We haven't had more than 3% growth in any year of the Obama administration.
Yeah, that's right. Since that's the worst performance since World War II. You're absolutely right. And the same thing happened under John F. Kennedy. You saw the economic growth pop with tax cuts. What is going on? The government's taking money out of your pockets for itself. And for what? For union workers to work at home. I'm sorry. I'm so upset with that story. But look at the trend line in job growth that just came out, David. 165,000 jobs created in the last month. That's down from the 250K, 240K in 2014. And the wage growth is really bad. Mike is right. It's at Bill Clinton levels, mid-1995 levels.
Well, Steve, even some supply-siders, and Steve Moore, one of Trump's economic advisors, is a supply-sider. He believes in the power of lowering tax cuts. He says that maybe you should segment these tax cuts, start with one thing and then go to another. Let's play a soundbite of him on FBN this week. Steve, you and I both love Steve Moore very much. Do you think he's right or wrong on this?
They should go for both, David, so you don't open yourself up to political attack, and both will help the economy grow again. They don't have to wait till August. They know what they should do now. Lower marginal tax, lower tax rates across the board, cap deductions, get that corporate rate tax down. Don't wait. If you don't get it done quickly and make it retroactive so people see immediately benefits from having Trump in, you're going to have problems going into 2018.
And, Rich, just about everybody in the media wants Trump to fail. They wouldn't say that in public. Oh, of course we want the president. But we know they want Trump to fail. If he doesn't get the economy moving immediately, they're going to say this guy's a failure.
Well, that's absolutely right, David, and that's why he has to create momentum early. And the best way to do that is to get economic growth and stock market growth and, revive the animal spirits in the economy. And you do that through tax cuts.
Do it now. The Cash It In gang getting ready to roll at the bottom of the hour. Eric, what do you got?
Hey, David, Donald Trump pushing lawmakers in both parties to do their job. His message that might prove he's putting the American people ahead of party politics. Plus, haters bashing a fashion company just because it thanked Melania Trump for wearing one of its dresses. One person even comparing her to Hitler's wife. It's the disgraceful story that's hard to believe. See, you And you, 11:30.
Okay, we'll be watching. Thank you, Eric. But up here first, a major climatologist leaving her teaching job over what she calls the craziness of money in politics and the lack of actual science. Is that just the tip of the iceberg? That's